games didn't ask for updates. At least, that's how it was. They didn't need roadmaps, seasons, or apology tweets. You placed the disc in, you press start, and the game was there. It was as simple as that. Somewhere along the way, gaming got picked up by the mainstream, and yes, it got bigger and louder and more entertaining, but it also got more expensive, and if we're being honest, it also got more tiring. We bettered the graphics but lost the patience. We traded mystery and discovery for checklist and money, and that's why so many of us keep coming back to older games. Not because these older games were perfect, in fact, a lot of them were a pain in the ass, but because these games respected our time. No battle passes, no seasons, no stores, just a game and the promise of fun. Modern gaming is intense, it's powerful, it's loud, and it's more accessible than ever before. But these bigger experiences come with a little caveat: corporate greed. Okay, what I mean is the microtransactions that honestly nowadays feel like microtransactions. Every single day it feels like the word game in video game gets lost more and more, and these games end up feeling more like a chore or like a direct connection to your wallet more than an actual game. Instead of relaxing after a long day at work or school, you end up angry at the game for the competitive match you just lost, or you end up grinding for 3 to 4 hours for one more character of that banner. I can't be the only one that yearns for a simpler time when a game was just a game that filled you with awe and mystery, and there is an actual way to go back in time. Emulation. I'm talking about emulation, okay? The state of retro gaming on 2025 is wild. Surprises, updates, and brand new products keep appearing faster than mini event passes on Marvel Rivals. I swear that joke makes sense if you play the game, okay? I'm not crazy. There are multiple reasons for an individual to turn to watch retro gaming for their gaming needs. Some people simply don't like and can't keep up with the ever-increasing cost from modern gaming. I'm looking at you, Nintendo. Some people dislike the complete death of ownership in this new era of digitalization, because let's be honest, if your favorite game's server stopped being supported, you're out of luck, buddy. No more game for you. And a lot of people simply do it because of nostalgia. The technology for this sort of stuff is so advanced that I felt like an old man when I came back into this world. I was familiar, like anybody else, with the typical emulator for your phone or the typical emulator for your PC. But my God, we have phones, tablets, laptops, PC, new handheld, dedicated new console for gaming. Yes, this is a new 2026 Nintendo 64 console. It's wild the amount of options that we have today and age. But I hear you say, Harriet, what if I don't have hundreds of dollars to spend on this? My man, you only need a decent smartphone. At least that's how I started emulating Pokemon Platinum on my phone. On this day and age, we are spoiled for choice when it comes to software, and I mean it. There is at least one emulator per console that you know of. There are even emulators that encompass multiple consoles, and if you're new like me on this environment, let me tell you some of my favorites in case you are trying to get some pointers. For example, if you're trying to emulate for the 3DS, I recommend the Asahat emulator. If you're trying to go for the regular DS, you can always try Melon DS, and you can also use VSUC for your Game Boy Advance, DS, NES, etc. needs. Also, if you're still trying to emulate Nintendo, you can use the most famous emulator that I know, Dolphin, for the GameCube and the Wii. If you're trying to go before the GameCube with the Nintendo 64, I recommend the GoFear 64 emulator. And lastly, for the emulator that I use, SonyFast. If you're trying to emulate for the PS1, I recommend that, let me read it, the PSXR for the PS1, the PCSX2 for the PS2, and the RPCS3 for the PS3. I will write them all on the screen so you don't have to guess at what letters I am saying. Right now, quality of life is the name of the game. So now we don't only have emulators, we have extra software to make things more interesting. Things like retro achievements, a software that is so unbelievably popular and fun that I'm sure it requires no explanation. But the best part on the quality of life software is that you can get both your emulator, your games, your achievements, and whatever else you want on a beautiful package known as a frontend. Frontends are basically a platform, an application, an app, if you want to be so casual with me, that allows you to manage everything gaming related on a single front page. My personal favorite, and the one that I use the most, is Emulation Station, because it's just so good looking. I can manage my own console library and then my video game library for each console on a single front end, and it's just perfect. Also, if you are on something that is not your PC, you have to try GameHub. GameHub will let you connect your Steam account to whatever device you want, and it will let you both install and run your games from Steam locally on that new device. And it wouldn't be fair talking about front ends and quality of life if I didn't mention ISO. I know the controversy that ISO is right now, and I am fully aware that they are first in line for the chopping block. But if ISO doesn't come along with a new solution, I hope that they are at least the spark of inspiration for another developer to create a dedicated front end for the emulation community, because God knows I am not that guy. And yes, every single software that I've told you, it's beautiful, convenient, and available. But the best part is where to run it. Yes, baby! You thought I was not gonna talk about handheld? There is no way I was gonna talk about the retro gaming scene and not talk about the ridiculous amount of new handhelds released every single year. Wow! If you think we are spoiled for choice when it comes to software, get ready for the car show that is the hardware. Today, we have no shortage of options when it comes to handheld, being all-encompassing general handhelds like the Steam Deck or the Legion Go, or we can go with the new handheld consoles designed specifically to target your pretty little heart and strike at the center of your nostalgia. With consoles like the Battle XP G350, why was the name so long? The Retro Pocket, the AYN Odin 1 and 2, the Mayu Flip, the Retro Bucket Flip, the AYN I won't go into detail with the AYN Thor because I don't have it. So no, there is not going to be an in-depth review, but I am 100% going to talk about how much I love and how much I want that console, because I've been looking for years for a Nintendo DS to play my childhood games. And this one is not only amazing, sexy and good, it's cheap as hell. One thing that you gotta understand about me is that I grew up as a Nintendo kid. That meant I had my Nintendo DS Lite. Thing is, I was a rough kid. I really don't even remember when my DS stopped working, but DS emulation is what got me into the retro gaming hobby. Like I mentioned, with Pokemon Platinum. So when I saw that a company released what looks exactly like a Nintendo DS released on 2025, I almost pissed my pants, man, not gonna lie. I cannot begin to explain how my mind was absorbed by this machine. I watched an ungodly amount of in-depth reviews of the AYN Thor for hours. And I know that there are some other clamshell handhelds on the market, but they were either A, too expensive, or B, they only had one screen. No one ever catch the vibe of a real DS. But I hear you say for the second time in this conversation, stop interrupting me, Harriet, what if I don't have hundreds of dollars to invest on this? Well, depending on what type of kid you were, you might just be in luck. If you were a smart kid, unlike me, you probably still have a big majority of the games and consoles you used to play with when you were a kid. Me, personally, I sold everything to GameStop and Blockbuster. Yes, you heard that right, Blockbuster. I was there when the gaming scene was just starting. What I'm trying to say is that if you are lucky enough, you may still have your old Game Boy Color SB, or your Nintendo DS, or even a PSP if you are really lucky, because those consoles are really hard to get right now. They are expensive, but if you manage to get your hands on one, be it by having it stored away in your parents' house or an old bin, or by just biting the bullet and getting a new one, you have some big potential on your hands thanks to, say it with me, modding. Modding really unlocks unlimited potential to all of the consoles that you own. I'm talking about emulation of a dozen consoles, upscaling graphics above and beyond anything seen before, or complete emulation of fan-made ROM games. For example, Pokemon Gamma Emerald. But that's not where the ball stops. Oh no! Some people have truly hit the call of retro gaming and made some mods that I've never even imagined. For example, Animal Crossing City Folk Deluxe, the best experience for anything Animal Crossing related, or upscaling the graphics like I mentioned. Twilight Princess has no business looking this good in 2025. Also, I have to talk about Mario Kart Rewind, the best experience for anything Mario Kart related outside of official consoles. And again, Pokemon Gamma Emerald. I feel like 2.5D should have been the future for Pokemon and not full 3D, but we will talk about that on a later video. We'll have time for that right now. If you are interested in any of the mods that I mentioned, there's an amazing video about Retro Renew where he talks about all of the mods that I mentioned and even some other mods that are completely wild. Please give it a go, it's bonkers. I see a lot of people in the community talking about trying games again, games that they used to love as kids. I've also seen a lot of people talking about trying games that they hated as kids and try to see them in a new light. Now, what I've been doing is exploring what I call the joy it's been of missing out on games that I never managed to play throughout the years, mainly PS1 and PS2 titles. Look, I told you that I was a Nintendo kid, and after that, I was an Xbox teenager. So for me, Sony is a completely brand new, unopened Pandora's box ready to absolutely wreck my nighttime routine. When I was a kid, the internet was fairly new, so the only way to spoil a game for yourself or get info about a game was through chat rooms, normally on suspiciously looking websites. And at that time, I didn't even speak fluent English, so even if I found said chat rooms, I wouldn't have been able to read them. So now I get to enjoy these 10 to 20-year-old titles spoiler-free, as if they were brand new. Games like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games, Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door, even Zelda Wind Waker. By the way, if there are some retro games that you want me to try, this is the moment to recommend them. I'm looking at maybe Sly Cooper after I finish the ones that I already mentioned, but everything is welcome. If you have recommendations, please let me know in the comments. Another thing that I really love about all of this, and that I see little to no people talking about, is how these retro games keep the mystery alive. Like I mentioned, on my younger days, there was no YouTube video explaining the solution to every puzzle or how to pass the difficult part on a level. There was no TikTok or Instagram reel or YouTube short telling you all of the Easter eggs and secrets of the game and how to get them. The only way to get that information from a game was either from word of mouth, finding it yourself, or maybe, just maybe, reading the game manual had some information about that stuff. But it all depended on you. And that is a level of discomfort that I really want to get back into my life. I want to have to sit down and think about the puzzle, try and figure it out myself instead of just Googling the answer to get a quick fix. I want to explore the world and see what I can find. I want to feel the mystery and the awe of the game, and I want to feel the satisfaction of doing all of that stuff without the game holding my hand. I want to sit down and solve my game. Something that I feel like we don't have space for on modern gaming. That said, of course I don't mean that you only have to play retro games. The modern gaming scene really does get better and better every single day, with new releases probably every single day. But it's ironic that with the crazy amount of advancements in technology, we also unlocked a way to go back in time in order to play what we love, what we used to love, or what we didn't even knew in the first place. So, if you find yourself with some free time on your hands, why don't you give all of these that I just mentioned a chance? Because right now is the best time to try some retro video games. Thank you for watching.